Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Embarrassing Lemon, and it says, am I the arsehole here for telling my fiance I won't help pay the mortgage? For some background, I, 29 female, and my fiance, 30 male, have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020 and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up and my grandma offered us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I'd thrown the idea of going to school out there and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiance paid for it and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple of semesters. My fiance has been making 90k a year for the past couple of years and 70k when we first moved in. He saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school, and we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for the past couple of months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterwards I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage, but the name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house, and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do, then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership and if he just wants his own place fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a bitch, saying that he paid for everything for the past few years, including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare. And that ended up saving us money since I would have only been able to work part-time. He said he didn't care and I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So Reddit, am I the arsehole here for refusing to pay the mortgage? Gee bloody whiz. Those red flags are flagging at the moment, aren't they? I mean, it's a bit bloody rich from him at this moment in time since you've been living in your grandma's apartment where it says you've been living rent-free and he's obviously been benefiting from that at the same time. So, you know, it's taking the piss a bit here, but you'd have thought ideally if he wanted to go into this trying to protect the money he put into it, he would have been talking about a prenup or something along those lines. So if you were to break up, then he'd get that and then the rest of it would be split 50-50. But I mean, everything around that seems really shitty anyway. He called you a bitch and he was only able to save all that money because he was living rent-free with your grandma and was benefiting from the childcare from the grandma at the same time too. And I would seriously be considering the future of all this if he's willing to do this at this moment in time. You know, when he gets even more comfortable, when you get married, etc. It just feels like it's one of those things that could escalate over time. But Weston says, OP, do not marry this man. You currently have a free place to live and he wants you to pay half the mortgage to increase his equity. If anything goes wrong, he'll be living large on your contributions. Childcare, the free apartment that you got him to facilitate saving, and half the mortgage you would have paid up until that point, and you'll be out on your ass. He pulled a bait and switch on you in the most demeaning way in front of a broker, and called you a bitch. Like other commenters, I doubt this is the first time he's shown you who he is. Regardless, believe him. He doesn't value you or respect you or your very real contributions at all. Not the arsehole. Front Tour says not the arsehole. He got free rent and free childcare thanks to your family, which allowed him to save that money. If your name isn't on that house, you shouldn't put a dime into it. OP says, I'm honestly rethinking getting married at the moment. This feels so out of left field. He's literally never treated me this way before. I thought going to school and taking care of our son while not having to pay rent would have been an equal trade to him being able to save money, honestly. Another commenter says not the arsehole. First of all, he should never call you a bitch. That is so disrespectful. Second of all, while it is significant he put 40% down, it's not like you were goofing off. You took care of your child. You were in school. It's a partnership. It doesn't sound like he wants a partnership. The only reason he was able to save so much is because of you and your family's help. You're so smart not to pay a mortgage on a house you don't own. Do not accept him owning that house while he explicitly said it, because if you break up, he gets to keep it. Not that it would necessarily mean that if you get divorced, but it would help his case. I can't imagine that this is the first time he's shown some selfish or resentful behavior. You should have a serious discussion and think of starting counseling to work through this. At any rate, don't let yourself be financially edged out or set up yourself and your child to fail. Good luck. So after the comments, OP edits the post and says, originally we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school, so I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiance and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2, for those of you saying him paying for my schooling would have been more expensive than rent. My schooling in total costed $17,000. Across 5 years, that's $3,400 a year on average. So at some point later, OP adds their first update and says, so first thank you to everyone who commented. A lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those of you who weren't, I got to see a perspective of how my fiance might be feeling, so thank you for that too. Although some of you were extremely misogynistic. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job, and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown, and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I brought up finishing my degree and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiance said he'd pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship, so he ended up only having to pay on average $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiance was going to do. She said this. For the update, I told my fiance we needed to talk about this arrangement, and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair, but he's now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money, so the house should be his and his alone until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he'd consider a prenup. That would give him the 40% he put down and would split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while also giving me equity I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it, but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income. Not sure if it'd even be approved for the mortgage on his own, to be honest. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we got married. He said no, that we didn't need therapy, and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant. He listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about. He treated me with the utmost respect. He was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it had hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. Whenever partners switch up in these stories like this and they start going, oh, you need to listen to me. We don't need therapy. You need to listen to me in this situation because I know best, and all this kind of fluff always gives me those red pill content vibes. And there was a couple of comments below that update saying similar, but OP did come in with another update and said, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You show me I'm not alone in this and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision to not pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed. Thank you. Anyways, tonight he and I got talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update. So I told him my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it, called me a bitch and a gold digger, and told me I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from. He said I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere/red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube. Sure enough, I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Just Pearly Things, and Aiden Ross. Safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money and he was buying a house. He also said on more than one occasion he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recently, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from I Might Cause a Divorce, and it says, am I the arsehole here for telling my dad that if he didn't shape up, my mum was going to leave him? Hello everyone. I posted this on Am I the Arsehole here, but figured I might as well post it over here too. I've never posted on Reddit before, so sorry if this goes against the guidelines or anything. For context, I'm a 16-year-old girl and my dad is a 57-year-old man. I love my parents a lot, and I am so grateful for all the things they do to provide for me. However, me and my dad have always had a bit of a strange relationship. He's not very good at communicating, and sometimes it feels like I can't talk to him about anything. This does bother me. The real issue in our house is that my mum does everything. Every day she makes dinner, does the dishes, laundry, etc. On top of this, she recently started remotely working full-time again, and she is currently going back to college to get a master's degree. I do everything I can to help her out, but I can only do so much. My dad works full-time and that's it. He never does any chores or helps around the house at all. He does work a labor-heavy job, and I understand it's tiring, but he could at least give our dog a bath or make dinner for himself or something. Both me and my mum have said many times that we want him to help around the house, and he always says he will, but he never does anything. He did the dishes a couple of times, but he didn't do it thoroughly enough, and there was still food on them, so my mum had to rewash them. I've honestly gotten really tired of this, as it's been going on for years. Well, here is where I might be the arsehole. This happened 3 days ago. My mum was in class that night, so she hadn't gotten an opportunity to do the laundry yet, and there was a basket of dirty clothes in my parents' room. My dad offhandedly remarked, "Gee, there sure are a lot of dirty clothes lying around." This made me really annoyed. I told him that he was a grown man, and if he wanted clean clothes, he could do a load of laundry himself. My dad looked surprised at this and told me to calm down. I have a tendency of speaking harshly to people when I'm irritated, and this was unfortunately one of those moments. So I told him that, I swear to God, if you don't shape up and start doing some actual work around here, Mum is going to want a divorce. I knew immediately I shouldn't have said it, and he left the room looking really angry. Not sure if it's relevant, but he has been married 2 times before my mum. I told my mum about this, and she says that while he should do more work, what I said was really mean, and the divorce comment was completely unnecessary. When my dad got home from work the next day, I tried to apologize, but he completely ignored me and just went outside. It's been 3 days and he hasn't said a word to me, even though I've tried to say sorry multiple times. My house is now really tense since my dad is also mad at my mum because he thinks she wants to get a divorce. I feel horrible, but honestly, deep down I still agree with the comment I said to him. So, am I the arsehole here? I know it's not really the point, maybe it is the point, but it left me thinking after it. I wonder what happened to his other marriages the previous times, but Itchy Radio says, not the arsehole. As a daughter of a man very similar to the way you described your father, he's using weaponizing competence and the silent treatment as manipulation. You weren't out of the realm of possibilities by saying what you said. I know, because after 18 long years, my mum finally divorced my dad. It may have sounded harsh to him, but that's because people with no accountability for their actions will always feel attacked. I hate to say it, but it sounds like your mum would be better off without him, as far as the silent treatment goes. It hurts and is childish and annoying, but the best thing you can do is look straight through him. Play the game back. It won't take long before he's pretending like everything is fine again, and he's waited on hand and foot. AJ Alva says, not the arsehole. My favourite part of this is you voicing concerns you and your mother share about his lack of help around the home. And his response is to go hide in his shed rather than actually doing anything to fix the problem. Did he ever do the laundry? I feel like you also have to explain to your mother how this makes you feel. That she is constantly placing your dad's feelings and comfort over both of yours. Is this the kind of relationship she wants for you when you are older? Also make it clear that it's pretty impossible to drift away from only one parent after moving out. You don't want to get to a point in a few short years where you stop coming around at all because you don't want to watch, hear, or deal with it anymore. Stella Noir says, not the arsehole. I don't understand these comments saying, but you as a child hurt your dad's feelings and therefore you're just as culpable. He's a grown man. Tell his Gen X arse apathy isn't cool and you don't get to ignore your child for telling you harsh things. You're literally still in learning mode for how all this works, and your father being unable to showcase healthy emotional responses days later is a disservice to you both. Yes, it was harsh, maybe even out of line, but you're much more aware of your parents' relationship dynamic than anyone on this forum. Maybe your mum would never leave him. Maybe she's thinking about it once you go to college, but dad needs to be able to hear harsh things sometimes and react like the adult in the room. And Salty says, soft, you're the arsehole. I agree with what your mother said. I get what you were trying to do, but this is not your responsibility, nor your place. Your mother is the one who should have handled it when she has the biggest problem. In my opinion, I think your father is the bigger arsehole. He needs to do better, but refuses to acknowledge this. He sounds like a big child throwing a tantrum. He's an adult. If he can't help for whatever reason, he should at least have the decency to keep his mouth shut. So, OP came in with an update and said, hello again. I made a post on here about a week ago and I thought it'd be nice to give an update on what happened afterwards. The link to my original post is here, and shares the link. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone on my post who commented about their opinions on why I was or wasn't an arsehole. Everyone was very kind and you all gave great feedback. The verdict on my post ended up being not the a-hole, though a lot of people said it wasn't my place to speak on behalf of my mum like that. After thinking about it, I agree. My dad was being a jerk, but I really shouldn't have put words in my mum's mouth. Now for the update. About 2 days later after I posted on here, my parents sat me down and said they wanted to talk. I was prepared to get a lecture about how what I said was out of line, but that's not what happened. Apparently the reason my dad has gotten so upset at the comment I made was that it hit a little too close to home. It turns out my dad has been cheating on my mum for about a year with one of his co-workers, and my mum found out a few months ago. The reason she went back to work was because she needed financial independence to get divorced. They said they hadn't been planning on telling me, but my dad decided I was mature enough to know the truth and that I deserved to know. They said they would probably be separated by the end of the year. This situation was completely out of left field, to be honest, because while my dad might not have been the best at doing the dishes, I never thought he would have an affair. My dad has talked to me about how sorry he was for what he's been doing, and that he hoped I didn't view him differently. I tried to be kind and not say any more unnecessary comments, but I did let him know that I was really disappointed in him. I needed to get out of the house, so I've been staying with a friend for the past couple of days and processing everything. So while what I said to him might have been shitty, it resulted in me finding the truth about what's been going on. So I'm kind of glad. I'm sorry that this update isn't the happiest or anything, but overall I am doing okay. And thank you again to everyone who commented on my first post. I appreciate it a lot. My palm was on my forehead when he turned around, like after just revealing that he cheated on the mum, and said to her, I hope you don't view me differently now. I mean, bro, come on, man. And again, I know it's not the point, but it just brings me back to those other two marriages at the same time. I wonder what happened on the back of those marriages. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.